most feared woman inside the DOJ. I know it's true. When you come trotting into one of those courtrooms, I know it. I know they sit there and they look. They're like, oh god, Julie Kelly's here. Oh no. Okay.
That's why I wear my high heels. I'm 5'10" in person, so I want to make sure I'm like over 6 feet. So I tower over Jay Bratt.
Oh yeah, all right, yeah, good. I mean, hey, listen, at least you're not here opining. What did we have last time? Someone talking about how glorious Jack Smith's beard is. Some CNN reporter, how glowing he was. Yeah, okay, all right,
yes,
yeah. Okay, so let's smack Jack Smith around a little bit here. What the hell happened yesterday? This seems like extreme, psychotic, overly medicated ex-girlfriend style texting. Right? Like, please, like, yeah. Do you remember all the good times?
This is like the boiling bunny and the pot, right? This is Jack Smith's The Boiling Bunny from Fatal Attraction, this 165-page, what I call now dirty dossier, right, Benny? So we had the Steele dossier in 2016. We had the collaboration, the Hunter Biden so-called dossier that we said was that all of the government FBI was in cahoots with big tech and the media, intelligence officials to call that Russian disinformation. But now, Benny, they don't even have to do it behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. They are doing it out in the open. This is what this immunity motion, 165-page, like Matt Whitaker said, a lot of rehashing of the January 6th Select Committee report. But it's different when you have it in a political document, which the J6 report was. But to put the Department of Justice's imprimatur on this garbage, this partisan political hack job by Jack Smith, and here's the bottom line, Benny. Jack Smith and Tanya Chutkan know this case will never go to a jury trial. They know between the Supreme Court ruling in immunity and the Supreme Court ruling in Fisher, which you and I have talked about, 1512C2, overturning how the DOJ flagrantly misinterpreted the language in that post-Enron statute, overturned that. Benny, that represents 2 of these 4 weak counts in Jack Smith's indictment. This is going nowhere. But between Judge Chutkan, an Obama appointee with a long record of making anti-Trump statements in her courtroom, I've been there and I've seen it, and Jack Smith and the DOJ, they want to seed media with more inflammatory stories about January 6th, what happened before January 6th, and they are successfully doing so. This is his opening arguments for a case that will never make it to a jury trial. It is really infuriating, again, to see the most egregious example of DOJ interference, not interference in an election, putting their the entire department's weight on the scales of justice, denying Donald Trump's due process rights, his First Amendment rights, Benny. This is a First Amendment case. Donald Trump can say whatever he wants in the White House. He can say whatever he wants to Vice President Pence or to governors in Georgia or Arizona or election workers or his own attorneys. This is Jack Smith criminalizing political activity that we have tolerated for 200 plus years in the White House, that we're tolerating right now. His attempt to criminalize, only in Donald Trump's case, political activity that we know happens every day in a White House in the United States.
You saw this in the vice president's debate, and I have to bring this up simply because the timing is just so unique and convenient for this brand new, not actually so new filing, same filing we've seen before, but Tim Walz gets his ass kicked, and everybody's talking about how shocking it was that Tim Walz says no, hate speech should be banned. Like that's actually possibly the most radical position that's been taken by any presidential ticket ever. In fact, that there are parts of speech that must be banned under the First Amendment, sort of dovetailing into this indictment. And then they drop it. They drop it right after the debate, just like we've seen before with these DOJ indictments. How malign is this operation? Do you think that they are actually following news cycles in order to hit Trump at particularly high notes in order to rip away potential wins from the president?
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the timing. And you brought this up before I came on. So this unusual. And when Judge Chutkan allowed this brief to be filed, she said, I was there in the courtroom. I talked to you right afterwards. I was in the courtroom September 5th. Jack Smith was there. The media is swooning over him. People from Washington, D.C. who hate Trump, they were packed in this courtroom. And she called this brief irregular and outside of the ordinary course of what happened of the court process. She doesn't care. She immediately that evening allowed Jack Smith to file this, what he called opening brief. Then this turns into a motion for immunity determinations. That's what he called it. Then he asked Judge Chutkan to exceed the normal page limit, which is about 40 pages in a motion, to quadruple that to 180 pages. She, of course, allows it. So that was placed under seal on September 26th. Judge Chutkan gave Donald Trump's lawyers a few days to go through this 165-page document and the alleged redactions, which weren't very helpful at all, gave them until October 1st, so that was Tuesday evening, the night of the debate, to file their objections. She unsealed it yesterday. So do you think Judge Chutkan actually was looking at any of the concerns that Donald Trump's lawyers? She didn't care. She is nothing more than a rubber stamp and has been from the very beginning. And Benny, this is why she got in trouble at the Supreme Court. Not only did they vacate her original immunity order, denying all forms of immunity to Donald Trump in a December 2023 ruling, all forms of it, just categorically, blanketly denying presidential immunity in this unprecedented case. Chief Justice John Roberts criticized her numerous times for her hasty, expedited handling of an unprecedented question of criminal immunity from criminal prosecution. She learned nothing. She strode into that courtroom on September 5th like she had just been upheld 9-0. And she was, taking it to John Lauro, Trump's attorney. And here she granted this. So unsealing it yesterday, no consideration for how this was going to be perceived and reported in the media, which of course, false stories about what it involved.
Of course.
So
it's nothing but hoaxes in my timeline. Nothing but hoaxes in my timeline. You've been nuking some of these people, and thank you for that work because you actually read the documents. But it's just pure hoax. They're just throwing red meat to the people who have had their brains psychotically broken through Trump derangement syndrome.
That's right. I mean, I was watching CNN yesterday because I like to see what the crazy people on the other side are doing, and I mean, Jake Tapper is holding this up like it was his Christmas present. They're celebrating on the news set like it's New Year's Eve. They couldn't hide their glee that this again, a brazen example of DOJ interference, not just tipping the scales, rigging the election again against Donald Trump. Yeah. They gave it no consideration whatsoever. They can't wait for the next. Now there's a new filing that's going to be coming, which is the appendix to this 165-page dossier that will lay out exactly where this information came from. Grand jury testimony, FBI 302s. And Benny, here's the really hypocritical part of all of this. I have watched Jack Smith in Florida, the documents case, which was now dismissed by Aileen Cannon in July, concluding that Jack Smith has been unconstitutionally appointed. I've watched his team in Florida, and I've watched his team in Washington, and I've watched Judge Chutkan beg to keep everything under wraps, right? To keep everything under protective order, under seal, under major redactions for fear of witness intimidation. She has Donald Trump under a gag order to this day, Benny, saying he cannot make public critical statements about potential witnesses in this case because it could lead to witness intimidation. She has also said, and Jack Smith has said this, we need to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. So all of this discovery, classified and unclassified, should be kept under wraps. All of a sudden, none of that applies, right? Doesn't matter what witnesses are revealed by this document. Doesn't matter if their grand jury testimony is unsealed. Doesn't matter if all of a sudden FBI 302s. This is the same sort of thing that led to calls for Aileen Cannon's recusal in Florida when she allowed some of this material to be unredacted. Recall that, Benny. Now all of a sudden, the media is like, this is great. Who cares if these people get intimidated or threatened? Judge Chutkan doesn't care. Jack Smith doesn't care. All of the rules thrown out the window on a 1A case, and in the process denying Donald Trump again his due process rights, his right to confront the people who are making these allegations against him, to confront his accuser. Sorry, I lost the word there. So this is a complete denial of his rights, as both of these cases have been. And now they're just going to keep feeding the media beast every single hour with this document as people are starting to vote in some states.
Oh man, we've seen it. Anybody who's been around long enough has experienced it time and time again. It just doesn't matter what the truth is, as long as they can get a smear, a slander on you. The wrap-up smear, as it's been elucidated by Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi in a fit of pique or drunkenness just explained their entire media strategy a couple of years ago. It's really funny. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip, the wrap-up smear of Nancy Pelosi, but describing this exact process, right? How none of it needs to be true. You just need to smear your enemy with something that you're actually you're actually doing, and then you merchandise it to the media, and the media like runs with it and screams with it, and all anyone ever cares about is the headline. And it seems like that's exactly what they're doing to Trump. And these actions here that you just talked through, since you've actually been in the courthouse, man, this seems like judicial jihad. Is this like a suicide mission? Like it feels to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, man. I tend to be an optimistic person. Feels to me that they're like, quick, he's gonna win. He's gonna destroy us all. Throw everything you can at him, right? Like do it all, right? Pack the cars with as much as you can possibly fit in the trunk, all right? And let's just drive straight towards the base. What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, I've heard what you said. If he was losing, they wouldn't be doing any of this because they wouldn't jeopardize. And they know that their lawfare
seems desperate. Seems very desperate.
Yeah. They are totally desperate. And that's why and to your point about projection, you have Tim Walz on the debate stage the other night talking about how if Donald Trump wins, he's going to use his DOJ to exact revenge against his political opponents. I mean, hello. And this is the news media doing the same reporters who are covering Jack Smith and the DOJ are complaining that Donald Trump is going to use his DOJ to do the same thing. If only, fingers crossed. Because Benny, as I wrote today on Twitter, what Jack Smith and Judge Chutkan in this DOJ, and this is Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, this is everyone at Maine Justice, they have done this as well. This cannot be forgiven and it cannot be forgotten. Unlike 2016, unlike 2020, when no one faced consequences for using the overwhelming tools of the federal government to aim their fire and destroy Donald Trump, this act yesterday absolutely must face repercussions. And Jack Smith, the unconstitutional special counsel who brags in court that he has unlimited resources, unlimited. He has spent, Benny, think about this. In the first 14 months of his prosecution between the special counsel and DOJ, $35 million in 14 months. That doesn't include what he has spent since March of this year until now. It also does not include what the Department of Justice has spent since they initiated this investigation in 2021, before Jack Smith was appointed almost 2 years later. We need accountability, not just for Donald Trump, not just for his associates, Stephen Bannon and Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, who served jail time, and for the 1,500 plus J6ers who have endured the wrath of this DOJ. This must be dealt with when Donald Trump wins the White House.
Yeah, we really, really look forward to that. I mean, how are you going to even have a functional country if you don't? If there is no consequences here, and if these people are allowed to do this, and as we built sort of into the block leading into this segment, Julie, like Jack Smith is a human dirty bomb, like a judicial dirty bomb. It's been used against Bob McDonnell in this capacity, overturned at the Supreme Court. Everything, this guy's entire career. Yes. His entire career's illegitimacy and being a hatchet man in order to destroy political careers and get humiliated by real legitimate courts, but to do so through wrap-up smears, through the media. It's pretty embarrassing. You mentioned the people who are going to be unsealed in all of this, who may have been testifying against Donald Trump. One of them was on national TV last night, and wow, I mean, really, it's pretty shocking. Here is Cassidy Hutchinson. I just want to get you to respond to this very short clip of she's a very impressive person. She's endorsing Kamala Harris on TV here. Her only job is to just go and repeat the line, right, that her publicists have given her. And here's how it went.
Be few issues that Kamala Harris and I would see eye to eye on. I hope that we'd be able to come to consensus on a lot more issues.
They're not sending their best, Julie.
Well, Cassidy Hutchinson, as we know, because of the work of Representative Barry Loudermilk over at House Administration Committee, we know now, lied under oath repeatedly at the behest of Liz Cheney. Remember, she's the one who made that dramatic testimony about how Donald Trump lunged at his Secret Service detail, and the driver, after they left the ellipse after a speech on January 6th, went back. Turns out that was completely fabricated, made up out of whole cloth. But yet she took an oath before the J6 committee. She told the entire world that story, that made up story. And then she's reversed herself several times on her testimony. Again, no consequences yet. So here she is, instead of facing perjury charges, many perjury charges, she is now, again, the queen of cable news media. So this is the frustration. I know, Benny, you feel it. Your viewers feel it. Our side feels it. It's just the same people getting away over and over with not just targeting Donald Trump, his associates, his voters, but all of us, and really endangering and accelerating this lawfare and this descent into banana republic style territory. This is what happens in authoritarian countries, where you imprison your political opponents, whether they're the toughest, strongest like Donald Trump or the weakest like J6ers. I was getting texts again this morning, a man with 2 special needs children who was sentenced to 40 months in prison. This just happened yesterday. They are not stopping. And using first day protected speech to turn political dissent into a crime punishable by prison, and in the meantime denying 4A, 5A, 6A, 8A, Bill of Rights, constitutional protections that we have. And this is much bigger than Donald Trump. And that's the danger if we continue to allow these individuals in our federal government to get away with what they're doing.
I want to touch very quickly here on something that broke last week that we haven't gotten an opportunity to talk about, which is General Milley coming now forward in released testimony saying, yeah, I just defied the president. The president asked for National Guard, and I just said no to the commander in chief. And I'm the general and Joint Chief of Staff, and we've decided that we're just not going to do what he asks us to do. In fact, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to make sure that the Capitol building is as least secure as we can possibly make it. I lived through the National Guard being deployed throughout Washington, D.C. I know what it looks like when a building is protected by the National Guard. Nobody gets through. You're going to take your life in your hand. There's nothing more intimidating than the American military standing in formation in front of a building they don't want you to get into, right? And so if President Trump was followed through, if Mark Milley had done what the commander-in-chief ordered him to do and secured the Capitol building, the chances of January 6th popping off is exactly zero.
Exactly.
Zero. You just have a protest. Some people hold signs. Some people say, we want free and fair elections. And that's it. That literally it. Everyone goes home. Guy plays the banjo. And that's the end. And there is no J6. Mark Milley here saying, no, I mean, where's the military tribunals for this dude?
Oh, he should face military tribunals for so many reasons, as you know, Benny. But I do want to give your viewers a little heads up on something, preview into a piece that we've been working on for weeks. And that is a blow-by-blow account of the National Guard requests, who made them and who denied them. And General Milley is just one of them, who is in cahoots with Ryan McCarthy, the acting secretary of the Army, who changed the authorization chain of command the day before January 6th. But this is going to be, I believe, the most exhaustive timeline yet available. Who denied National Guard request from Milley to not right. They slow walked it, right? They slow walked it. But you also had the Sergeant at Arms for Nancy Pelosi denying it. You had Mitch McConnell, Sergeant at Arms, denying National Guardsmen. You had people who, after January 6th, misrepresented who was talking to whom to finally get authorization after 5 o'clock that day. You had National Guard from other states who had arrived at Capitol grounds before the DC National Guard. This timeline will fully explain who was asking, who was denying it, why they did. And again, to your point, and this is important to emphasize, leaving the Capitol intentionally unprotected and vulnerable on January 6th, despite all that we're told now, all of the intelligence, all of the meetings behind the scenes, the conference calls between top Trump cabinet officials, DOD, Mark Milley, DOJ, DHS. They were all talking before January 6th, but yet no one authorized the deployment of even 1,000 National Guardsmen when they had the ability to do so. That, of course, is one of the biggest unanswered questions of January 6th. And I will be posting that on my Substack later tonight or tomorrow. I will send it to you when it's up.
Ladies and gentlemen, this image is what it looks like when BLM and Antifa, terrorist groups of the left, wholly and totally funded and fomented by Democrat leadership, when they were marauding through Washington, D.C., burning the city, quite frankly, to timber and spray painting memorials and desecrating our monuments. And that was then politically damaging the Democrat chances in 2020. This is what Democrats agreed to. This is how Democrats protected monuments when it could have politically blown back on them, when their riots were getting out of control. Mm-hmm. And so this is what they denied President Trump for what, I mean, come on, fill in the blank. It's the easiest Mad Lib ever. There would have been no January 6th if the Capitol looked like that. Obviously, right? Yeah, exactly. Julie Kelly at Declassified Live, the best. We cannot wait for you to publish that. Please come back on the program when that sucker's up. Bring your doggies with you. We always talk about your sweet doggies.
I know. I'm outside right now, so they're not disruptive.
Okay. we really look forward to that report. And I guess in closing here, I just want to put a pin in something just to make sure that there's just to make sure that we get something straight. The Jack Smith case won't ever see a jury. You say that with such certitude. Is it because of a President Trump victory? Just quickly here.
Well, of course, if Donald Trump wins, his DOJ will dismiss the count. If he does lose, this still will be overturned. This existing indictment will never pass the Supreme Court immunity test or the Fisher test. The indictment will never survive the light of day after that and go to a jury. This is the only hope that they have.
So it's all just dirty politics from dirty people. Ooh. Oh man, a cleansing fire in Washington, D.C. Please let it happen. And Julie Kelly bringing it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Benny.